the Know Your Gear podcast.
This came from Antique Rocker. He says, hey, since 1960, what do you feel were the most significant guitar inventions of each decade? Which decade produced the most significant? I have a video on that, so that's kind of tough. Okay, so, and the video I did a lot of research and work on. So let me go to that. I don't even know where I would, let me go to YouTube. Almost feel like I have to watch my own video to tell you what I thought. So I just want to tell you that video is what you really should watch, because it's what in that video I can tell you what I learned was I did a video 10 inventions that changed guitar forever, and what you really realize from that video is that there's no significant inventions that changed the guitar movement in any way post like 1990. It really just kind of dumps off after that. So when you think about inventions like the tremolo system, obviously a massive invention that spawned an entire type of music. Carbon fiber rods, the dual action truss rod, those are huge innovations that changed guitar. Maybe not what you're going after in this question, but that's essentially, think about this. The truss, think about the way I look at it as someone who's like repairing guitars or just a fanatic of guitars. Things like a truss rod made guitars extremely affordable to the masses. Improving the truss rod. Dual action truss rods made it to where you could argue, somebody probably will. You could argue that they made guitars worse because before they would pick better selections of wood to make a neck, and now they just kind of make a neck out of anything and stuck rods in it. Same with carbon fiber rods. You can reinforce, you can make garbage wood straight for the most part. That to me is huge because it makes guitars that are inexpensive very, very good. Okay. A perfect example would be like when somebody talks about roasted maple necks. That's a modern thing. That would be post 1990. I think roasted maple necks are a huge influence on the guitar market, improving it, because that invention sounds stupid, but it's really what it does is I think what we'll hopefully see is all the inexpensive guitars to just get their necks roasted. Because at this point, they'll get the process down to where they could just take wood that's basically was alive 2 days ago. This is a joke. And make it more stable and stick some carbon fiber rods and a truss around it, and you have a guitar that lasts forever. So I think inventions like that, obviously the humbucker is a huge invention that changed everything, right? Huge CNC machine. The fact that they implemented them so well in the system, in the industry as well, are important. But I think of those inventions as being more the improvements of guitar. Somebody said stainless steel frets. I think that's a huge improvement to the guitar, I believe. I mean, that's polyurethane finishes, right? Steve Cassidy Guitar says poly finishes. I think so, right? The idea to do a finish quicker. And if you notice, most of the things I praise are the things that made guitars more affordable. And there is an argument there. A lot of people don't think guitars, like that's not the sexiness of guitars. The guitars, the vintage guitars are better, or high-end guitars or expensive guitars are better. I just don't, I don't believe that. I believe that as I've lived so far in this life to where, like I said this before, when I started playing guitar and I play guitar today, the reason why I love guitar today is because I'm just as happy when I play it as I did when I was 16 years old. The joy that it gives me today is no less. Talk about that. I mean, think about this. There's probably no drug you could take that if you took it every day for your whole life, that is just as potent today as it was, when you started out. Guitar, to me, the joy that I get playing guitar this morning is the same joy I got when I started playing guitar. It is that powerful to me. It has never left me. I mean, sure, I get points where I get frustrated when I'm playing or I burn out, but I'm talking about the joy of guitar. And why that matters is, if that's true, which I'm promising you guys that statement is true, then the fact that I play a boutique expensive guitar today and I played a crappy guitar when I was 16, then the guitar doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It didn't change the way I feel. I didn't play a guitar when I was 20 years old and constantly strum chords going, oh, this crappy guitar. If I just had a good guitar, my life would be great. I never thought that. I've never thought that. The desire to want a better guitar, it mostly came from just at some point from real life things. Like, this guitar hindered me here. It's good, but if I had lower action, or if I could do, the tremolo would stay in tune better, it would function better for me, then maybe that would be improved. Those steps came very quickly. Once you got to a guitar that just wasn't entry level, it was like, bam, there I am, I'm fine. Every purchase after that, that's just the desire to own a cool thing, man. That's just a desire to own, probably the same thing that makes somebody buy a Rolex watch, besides maybe the whole collectability, and it's worth money later. But I'm talking about the whole look at me, this is such a cool guitar to own. Look at this, it's Brian Setzer and lime gold. It's so crazy. It brings me joy looking at it on the wall. That's how cool it is. But that to me is not a real important component of guitar playing. And so I've never really found it. I've never really care. My joke is, when they make a guitar, like the Herman Lee, somebody goes, is the Herman Lee any good? Well, it's $7,000. If it wasn't good, wouldn't it be stupid? Wouldn't the whole idea be stupid? Right? Right? You could buy a really good guitar for $700. I mean, really for $300, but $700. And if somebody bought a $7,000 guitar and it didn't even play right, wouldn't you think that would just be beyond ridiculous, right? Ridiculous. So of course a $7,000 guitar is good. Of course a $3,000 guitar is good. Of course a $1,500 guitar is good. Now, when I say that, does some still have issues? Of course, nothing's perfect. We're not saying that. But what I'm saying is that I don't believe, for the most part, you buy a $5,000 guitar because this is where the guitar finally gets good. And I hear somebody talk about that all the time. True story, just happened to me a week ago, and I was just talking about this morning at coffee. I was on the phone with some people at Sweetwater, because I'm going to Sweetwater to do some content. And obviously some of you guys know that I'm doing a podcast interview. And one of the things was I had in the background, as I was talking to them with my wife, I had my Steve I Universe swirl, the 1991 swirl that I have. And one of the guys at Sweetwater was like, oh, by the way, check this out. And what he had was a 1990s Universe neck, because a lot of those Universes got destroyed, on a RG 7620 body. So, and he had it dipped. So essentially I thought it was actually a really cool looking, like, adaptation of his, kind of his version of what a Universe should be. And he was like, isn't it great? And I said, oh, I love him. And do you love the neck? And yeah, we're having this good time. And this morning I was talking to my wife about the difference between, admitting the truth, which is, it's just really cool to own a childhood dream, which is the 1991 Universe, and being that dumbass jerk that says, oh, but the tone, buddy, dude, your body that came from another guitar is never going to have the tone that a 1991 Universe. Like, that stupidity just drives me nuts. Like, a 62 Strat, the magic is in the dirt, that's in the scratches in it, whatever that is. I cool as hell, dude. Do I think someone who has a 60 Strat is cool? Yeah, that's a cool guitar. Like, that's an iconic, amazing guitar. Do I think that guitar possesses a tone that can't be achieved anymore? No, I think that's silly talk. You should own the thing you love, and if you make enough money, you should enjoy it. I don't get yachts. I don't get fancy cars. So when people get money, like when a rock star buys a Ferrari and he buys a giant 10,000 square foot mansion, I'm sorry, I don't relate. Not because I don't have those things. It's just, if I had the money, it's not on my list of things I would give a shit about. But when he goes, oh, I got a 1960s blah blah, I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Right? That's a cool guitar. But my point is, and this is my whole point, this whole tirade is, I think that we shouldn't confuse, and this is the point of the innovations in guitar, we shouldn't confuse making a good guitar and what makes a guitar just iconically cool or different or unique or fun to own or see, right? And that's the difference. And I've said this before. In fact, here's what's funny. My wife said something to me that kind of hit me hard, and I don't want to give up the whole thing because it's for a video, right? So obviously I told you I'm going to Sweetwater. We're going there. I'm going to interview the CEO of Sweetwater, just like I interviewed the CEO of Guitar Center. And we'll see how it goes. Just like the CEO of Guitar Center. We'll see how it goes. You never know. I got some hard questions for him. So we'll see. But when we're there, hey, I make content, so let's make some good content. And one of the things I was talking about was a guitar, and I was talking about, what about guitars for beginners versus guitars for professionals? And my wife said, oh, that's easy. And I said, oh yeah, it's easy. I go, okay, so when you think of guitar for professional, what do you think? And this is what she said. She said, "Oh, that's easy. Epiphone." And I said, no, like professional players. She says, "Yeah, Epiphone." And I'm like, "What?" Thinking, have you seen YouTube? Have you seen channels? Have you watched any of my shows? What the hell are you talking about? And my wife says, "No, at the store, she sold as many guitars as me, pretty much." She goes, "Working musicians who played bought Epiphones. That's what they bought from us." And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Yeah." She's like, the Intel engineers, they bought PRSs and Gibsons and Fenders and Gretches, and the working musicians, they bought Epiphones. And I thought, oh my God, I think she's right. Yeah, working musicians buy Epiphones. And collectors collect Gibsons. And I guess I've kind of said that in a different way, a couple ways on the show. And definitely when I've done interviews or reviews of Gibsons, I say this all the time. I collect Gibsons because they're awesome and they're fun. But I guess if I only cared about playing and nothing else, and not the cool factor and not the, hey, I work hard and I deserve, I guess if those don't factor in, I'm just playing an Epiphone. So if you like this clip and you'd like to watch another one, you can click right here. And if you want to see the entire episode of the podcast, you can click right there. As always, thank you for your time and know your gear.